all right. You can make this shit up. This is our flagship podcast here at Jay in Washington, and we welcome you. With us is Dan DeCero, Joel Hawksley, and David Washington, your political innovators. How goes it, Dan?
Well, we're going to get into it today.
Let's get into it. Democrats are up on the table. Let's go.
I'd like to hear what you have to say on this one first
before
I get into it.
So this is going to be partly a plug for what we do, J&W. But this particular subject is about the Democrats and the data that they use for their voter files, et cetera, research, blah, 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 and how they have very little control over the controlling interests. Is that something? Can I say that? The data, the companies that they rely on for their data marketing files is controlled by a private equity firm. And that was just recently. It was owned before that by another private equity firm. And with lagging fundraising, low voter enthusiasm, and issues with the presidential nominee, President Biden, the Democrats are hurting. They're hurting, and they don't need issues with who's providing their voter file. And if there's going to be restrictions, this is going to cripple what the Democrats are able to do in providing valuable, up-to-date, current voter file marketing or voter marketing data for their candidates and their allies.
All I'm saying is that they can't deliver on anything. I mean, you can't keep people who. How can you have it both ways? You claim the first thing that happens when you look up what the Biden administration has done is that they've created 11 million jobs, but they can't keep their own people employed. How can you have it both ways?
Right. They're looking at cuts in their data file maintenance. People are losing their jobs, and when people are losing their jobs who provide valuable information to the party, then you're not going to have easy access or the type of access that you expect for running campaigns.
Right, and even their campaign crews are seeing layoffs.
Yes.
So I don't understand how you can claim to be doing something, but you can't have it functioning at home, so to speak.
Good point. Your house is not in order,
right,
so to speak. And this is where the plug for J&W comes in. We own our own data. We do not rely on the Republican Party or the Democratic Party to provide our voter marketing data to our clients. We own our own data. We make it available at a cost to our clients, and they have their own data, a customized data source for their campaigns. And so you're free, the client is free to use that data in appropriate ways to customize their targeting, their messaging, and their strategy. So shameless plug there for J&W's voter marketing data and consumer marketing data. Joel.
David, the reason we do that is because ownership is a much more important to a candidate than renting the files that everybody else is renting. You rent a file on David Washington, and the other person rents it, and the next person rents it. Some puts the wrong address, the wrong phone number in there, or the wrong email in there. Some poor sap out there is getting all David's emails and not knowing why. So, no, we're going to make sure that our data is scrubbed and that we know what we're talking about. And you own it. You can bring it with you.
That's right.
There's no reason to get rid of it. And for re-election after re-election, you just modify by getting a few new voters that move in, but you still can keep track of those that move out too. So
exactly,
I truly believe that if we keep buying the party's data, we do the same thing everybody else in the party is doing. But congratulations to the Democrats. November 7th was a good day. for the Democratic Party everywhere but in Florida, of course, and Mississippi. The abortion issue is definitely working for them, and that's why you can't have layoffs, because they have an issue that they can work with. So that's my plug for that. But I'm very disappointed in the Democratic turnout. When Republicans turn out to a special election in greater numbers and have a clearer decision when they come to the polls, in Erica Booth, that's an example of what's going to happen in your general election, because there were more Republican voters that turned out in 35 than the Democrats, and the winner of the Democrat Party had only 87 votes more than the second place loser in the Republican Party. Some stats for you guys out there. So Republicans, they come out and vote.
Going back to what Dan was saying about ownership of your own data, what you stated, Joel, but the effectiveness of the Democratic Party and its allies who rely on this data is snowballed, and we're seeing that because the Democrats are not showing up, their systems are not as reliable as they used to be. The layoffs are coming, and again, it's not just with the data partners, but also with the fundraising partners, other allies who recruit candidates. We're seeing more and more layoffs within the Democratic Party system, and that is that's foreboding. That's a concern moving into 2024.
I just have a lot of questions that I wish I could present, but I feel like the Democratic Party is the student who waits till the last minute. Right? They cram right before the election to make it okay. But the entire time they're falling apart. Right? So we saw it in 2020. Right at the break. Here comes the vaccine. Here come the stimulus checks, and then it's going to be 3 years of nothing and crumbling and struggling and not being able to get voters, and then it's going to be okay. Here's your silver platter to the younger generation,
right?
And here's $10,000 in student loan debt that we promised 4 years ago. That could have been happening now, but it's a leverage. It's always leverage. They struggle, and then right before the election, they throw money. And if that's the way you want to go about it, then fine. But do something to put yourself in a better position than to wait till the last minute to try and get your ducks in a row. Right. And then you don't have to throw taxpayer money at people, because people don't understand where this money is coming from. And it's a last-ditch effort that worked for them last time, but it won't work this time. They're going to lose.
You make a good point as far as having that forward thinking, that's long-term strategy, which we've discussed for over a year now on this particular podcast and other podcasts, whether it's the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, locally or nationally, and having that forward thinking and saying, hey, what can we do that's good for the community at large in the long term? That's my belief, in the long term. And again, throwing money at the situation like with the student loan issue just to bring people out to vote, that's going to wear thin. And it's wearing thin very quickly when people are looking at deficits, they're looking at inflation, and those matters.
I mean, it should piss off my generation that if it does happen right before the election, right, we look at student loan forgiveness, because people who graduated, at the beginning of his term are now still paying off their loans, right? You have to make payments every month. if it gets done right before the election, you need to have the capacity to look at that and say, as a college educated person, what's going on here? Is my best interest really at stake here, or is this just to get me to come out and vote because they're not doing their job for 3 years?
And there are tactics. There are many, many tactics that our politicians use to stay in office. A vast majority of incumbents remain incumbents for reasons just like that. The abortion issue is being used to turn up and turn out voters, as we saw in the November 7th election in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia. So it is manipulation. It is part of campaign strategy. Again, as far as we're concerned, we're always, wanting to work with the best candidates, with the best ideas for the community, but specifically having a long-term strategy. And unfortunately, in our politics today, it's those short-term goals that are what parties are looking at.
So I guess piggybacking off of what you were just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
from your expert political consultant experience,
Talking to me?
yeah, or Joel, right? Do you believe personally that the Democrats did everything in their power to prevent Roe v. Wade getting overturned?
No. An emphatic no.
So,
and that goes back specifically to President Barack Obama when he failed to put Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna say that we talk about the Dodd decision. The Republicans have failed to capitalize on this decision and present it to the people as a state right issue and explain. Instead, we get Roe v. Wade. No, we want it overturned because we want the states to have the right to make the decision. But what's the first thing that Republicans did as soon as it passed? As soon as Dodd came out, we said, well, we should have a national 15-week ban. Well, what the hell's the difference between a 15-week national ban and what we just got rid of, the nation telling us what to do? There's no difference. The hypocrisy, the Republican Party has not capitalized on the fact that if you live in California, you're safe. It's not going to change. If you live in Florida, you're going to have to look at the fact that it's a conservative state now, right? The consequences of where you live should play into why you live there.
So how would you craft this states' rights argument for an electorate who doesn't understand civics?
Just explain to, the thing is, if you just simply say that some of this bullshit that's being pushed in the legislatures or on the people, they're voting for it because they don't understand it, right? Hey, we got to get this law out there because the Republicans are coming for us. We got to get this law out there because the Democrats are coming for us. No,
they touch those feelings, those heartstrings. Yeah.
Right, and that's feelings. If we're voting through feelings, David, which is what I'm seeing across the nation,
of course.
When we're voting by this, we're taking rights away from ourselves. Either way, we're conservative or liberal. Your state should be your temple, right? It's you live there because it's doing what you want it to do. No, we have everybody else coming in and telling us what to do from the national level. I mean, DeSantis is a great governor and a bad governor at the same time. It just depends on how you look at it. These social issues mean nothing if the economy is terrible. They mean nothing if you have no tourism because Florida can't live without tourism. So why would we attack Disney? So, I mean, these are things that we have to look at as a party. And I beat my party up pretty good because we had an opportunity with Dodd to simply say, your body, your choice. Yes, it is in your state, where you live.
But that option to make those decisions is being banned. You're saying yes, you have that choice, but at the same time, that choice is not being
But
made
at the
available.
same time, we're sending a different message. We're sending a different message to the people by saying we don't want the states to make that decision. We want to make sure that now that Roe v. Wade's gone, that we want a national. When do we start talking as a party, my party, in national terms? Oh, we're going to put a national law to protect the 15-week. That's not how we usually talk. We talk about state rights. We don't do it anymore. Man, I was embarrassed when you have Senator Scott telling me on a stage last night that we need a national 15-week ban on abortion. Well, what's the difference between Roe v. Wade then? Why'd you get rid of it? If you're just going to put another federal law in there.
It's more pandering and the lack of a significant message that conveys state rights and the choice of women to have over their own reproductive rights. It's a messaging issue. It's a strategy issue for
And it brings
conservatives and Republicans.
It doesn't motivate the majority of people that are voting. If you're taking away,
well, it does. They voted to allow access to abortion. That's the majority.
And that's the problem. When you start to say one thing and then you deliver another, it's terrible. I mean, to understand what I'm saying is simply, why do we have state rights if we're not going to enforce state rights? The issue with the Democrats is they don't have themselves organized. They're using, our failures, our stupidity, or these little gaffes that we keep leaving out
isn't
there.
that an argument for
energize.
organization? Isn't that an argument to energize their voters to vote against these?
If you didn't have the media, if you didn't have the media on the side of abortion, if you just had a neutral media, it would be different. I mean, but you watch CBS, you watch NBC, you watch any of the networks.
Fox.
Well, Fox is now. See, I'm going to say Fox, CNN, MSNBC. I take them out of the equation. I'm talking about your local media, your broadcasting.
Despite the fact that more and more people are getting their information, their media from social media.
Right, but so a lot of these social media sites are tied to major networks. So,
Dan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I lost it, but it'll come to me and I'll interject. But I don't understand. I mean, I think both parties are. Oh, okay. The conservative, to Joel's point, the conservatives are. I feel like everyone's scared to make something final.
Okay.
Right. So Joel made the point that the Republican Party got what they ultimately wanted with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, but then immediately backed up over it and pushed the 15-week. Is that what he's saying?
Exactly.
Right?
Okay.
So
you got to win, and then you decide
they're no better than the Democrats then, because they're unwilling to capitalize off of momentum, right? So
or unable to.
But yeah, or unable to, which is then a question of whether or not it's one party or another party, or whether or not it's the entire system that is unable to function.
Mm-hmm. There's some dysfunction. I can recognize that. Yes, there is dysfunction.
Let me go into history for not a lot of history, but Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, and she has a caucus and a moment of weakness because she has super progressives pushing up against the moderate, the traditional liberal. in the House of Representatives. And for a Republican, that's exciting because you don't see that very often. And it's specifically three congresswomen that are creating this friction. So we would say that's momentum. But Republicans, as Donald Trump did, go and say something stupid that make them rally together, like send them back where they came from. Well, no, they only one was born in another country, of these three people. But that's what that's what this to me is. You have a victory, and instead of explaining it and capitalize on it and let it go, bloom like a flower, we go and we kill it because we think it's a weed. That's all I'm trying to say is, the Democrats and the Republicans are having that same issue right now. Every time we move forward, we just do something stupid.
All right. Dan, any final thoughts?
I think that if voters in the general population could just educate themselves to see tactics for what they are, then it's less. There's far more middle ground for just general people,
Sure.
right? Because both parties are playing dirty, and you have both parties are fear mongering. Both parties are just stirring the pot because they're incapable to make anything happen. And so then you have the dystopia that we live in. So ultimately, I think it's on the people of this country to get it's your civic responsibility to know what people are saying to you when you're listening to your politicians. And ultimately, like, you can point the finger all day at, oh, well, politicians are corrupt, politicians are incapable. But ultimately, if you have no idea how to do your own research and you don't know how to, figure things out for yourself, if you don't know what people are talking about, then it's your fault. If you're unhappy, it's your fault. And that's all. If you don't know how to do something and you expect someone else to do it for you, it's not going to be done as well as, the people of America need to change their own oil.
That's right. Agreed. Joel, final thought.
No, I totally agree. Dan, thank you very much. David, thank you very much. No, this is definitely a good conversation. You're both correct. You need to know how to change your own tire. And nowadays, vehicles come with no spare tire. So you have to rely on somebody else.
And on that note, my final word is this. There's a better mousetrap. And as your political innovators, Jane Washington has a better mousetrap, a better strategy, a better way of winning campaigns. Own your own data. Play in your own sandbox. Communicate. Strategize. Work directly with your community to bring the best ideas they have to offer to your state capitals, to Washington, D.C. And part of it starts with having the right data, reliable data, data that you own. Please, if you're interested, visit our socials, visit our website, www.j-washington.com for more information. Subscribe to our newsletter, The Informer. Subscribe to all of our socials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are your political innovators, again, here at Jane Washington. Dan, Joel, David, thank you, John, for producing. Thank you, everyone, all of our associates, Angelina, Kendall, Kellen. This is, you can't make this shit up. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification. Thank you.